everybody, we're back
with
a new
episode.
Hello.
Hello.
I'm listening. God damn it! After almost 90 episodes of Translating Love, it's so in my spiel.
Yeah, your muscle memory.
Yeah.
Kind of. Not really muscle memory, but
So we're not translating love. Sorry.
we used to be.
We're hello, I'm listening. It's not as catchy as Translating Love, but
I think it's catchy.
we work what we got.
Yeah.
We work with what
we've got.
That's what I wanted to say. I just stumbled over my words because I see Ollie and he wants to.
We're not going to talk about the rats again at the beginning of the podcast.
But he's like so poor. Look at me. I want to come out.
I don't see him from here.
Ollie Wally.
Oh, boy. Every episode starts with you talking to the rats, and it's usually Ollie because
let's be honest. Ollie is my co-host. And then there's Sebastian as the other co-host. And then there's Klausy.
That makes me... I'm actually curious that you put Klausy as the third co-host.
Because he's too sleepy. He doesn't add so much to the whole thing. And then it's you.
Klausy is Wolfgang's favorite rat, I think.
Yeah, Klausy. He's a little bitch, but he's a cute thing.
They're all cute. Okay, we're steering away from talking about the rats.
Okay.
Sir.
Oh, no, Sebastian.
Oh, no. No. Maybe we should switch spots.
Yeah, then you would like, oh, look.
No, because I have self-control.
Oh, I see. Yeah. We're still in the basement. Or, I mean, we always were in the basement recording the podcast. But
we're still living down here.
We're still living down here.
It's great.
Yeah. You should talk into the pod.
I just did. Into the podcast?
Into the podcast microphone.
I caught myself.
I know you were like, oh, you just did. Oh, what? You can't hear me? Oh, now you can.
Yeah, sorry. I'm trying to look at you and have my little note thing in front of me and
do stuff.
Yeah, that's what I did. Okay. So what are we talking about today?
So, we had this episode about coming of age a couple of weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have not listened to it, you should, because it's a good one. I think it's one of my favorites so far. It's my favorite from the new ones, but it's definitely one of my favorites overall.
Yeah.
And you people, and don't ask me.
What do you mean by you people?
Yeah, exactly. Don't ask me that.
Yeah, I was just finishing your sentence.
You people seem to like what we had to say about that thing. So we thought, hey, let's use that.
To our advantage.
No, let's maybe find a topic that is similar. And we found one. And our topic today is horror movies compared to real life. No, I'm kidding. That would be funny.
But isn't that kind of the topic?
Not really.
It's still horror movies.
No, it's horror movies, but more in the sense of, do we like them? Why do we like them? And
what makes a good horror movie?
What makes a good horror movie? When did we start watching horror movies? And yeah. So we don't compare them to real life.
So, I mean, the first question you don't really have to ask, do we like horror movies? Yes, we do.
Yeah, we do. Not all of them, but
it is my favorite genre of movie and TV series and everything and books. All I read are thrillers. So.
Oh boy.
But I still read. So, it's fine.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was the answer to that question.
Start with the beginning. We established that we liked horror movie, but when did we start liking horror movies, or what was like our entryway into horror movies? Do you remember your first horror movie?
I don't remember the first one. I remember like the time around when it started. Though.
Oh, I remember my first horror movie.
I remember the first types of horror movies that I watched.
I remember the first horror movie.
That's cool.
It was
Was it?
the Ring remake from 2003.
Yeah, that was probably close
13
to what mine was.
or
It
14
was
when I
too.
watched it the first time.
I bet that was the same. Because my friends and I always loved Halloween. My friends and I would always have a Halloween party. And I want to say it was in high school, so I would have been 13, my freshman year, that we had a Halloween night and watched scary movies. And The Ring was definitely one of those
But then
movies.
the original one, because when you were 14,
13.
2004. Yeah.
2004, 2005-ish.
Yeah.
But we watched The Ring one year. We all had like a marathon, so we watched lots of...
The Ring is such a stupid movie.
It's great.
No, the whole concept of the thing is so stupid. It's a fucking girl who fell into a well and now haunts people through the fucking TV.
Yeah.
It's so stupid. But it works. It's fucking scary as shit.
It is.
Back then, I remember watching it on my old, what is it called in America? Tube TV.
Tube TV, yeah.
And they glare after, so when you turn them off
Yeah.
in the dark, they still glare.
It's creepy as fuck.
And I fucking remember I couldn't sleep the whole night.
Yeah.
Because I was so fucking scared. I thought that the thing came out of my TV.
Yeah, but you're also a pansy, so I mean.
I was a fucking kid. But yeah.
Yeah. The Ring was a good one. We watched that a lot. We also, I mean, when I really, really got into horror, I started with like slashers. You know, everybody starts with slashers.
I mean, those are easy horror movies because they're all the same.
Because they're just gross.
Not necessarily. I mean, if you think of teeny slashers like Friday the 13th.
Yeah, but they're gross. Not really. That's what a slasher is. It's gory and bloody and gross and awesome. I'm not saying it is a bad thing. It's a good thing.
But they're not that gross. If you think of the original slashers, they're so harmless. Like the 80s and 90s slashers, nothing's happening compared to the new ones like Saw.
Yeah, but that's where I started. I started with Saw.
Oh, okay.
My friends and I, that was in our marathon night, the first Saw.
First one was great.
The ending freaked me the fuck out. I was so terrified of that ending, and that kind of sparked my love of horror films.
Yeah, the first Saw was great. The second one was good too.
The
third one was good. The fourth one was good. Then it went down.
The fourth is when it went downhill for me.
I liked the fourth one. I liked it as a continuation from the story, but the second was a little weird.
But the first one was amazing.
Yeah. I remember when I was like, 14, I want to say. And I went to a friend's house. And I remember they got like this downloaded copy of Texas Chainsaw Massacre. The remake.
Original one?
Not the remake.
The remake.
From, I want to say 2002 or 2003. Great movie. It's a great remake. Not comparable to the original one, but still great. And they started watching it, and I was sitting there on the couch, and at the beginning was like this found footage style where the police goes down into the basement, and there's all those shocking camera, like shaky camera footage, found footage style basically. And they explained like, those events happened really in the 60s in Texas, and that
like Blair Witch and
until now. And you see the police officers going down and collecting all the evidence and stuff. It's so funny. I was sitting there, I was like, God damn it, I can't watch that. I need to figure out a cool way to leave, because it was like my friends and then, we all wanted to be cool.
Yeah, sure. You're a pansy, so you're like, how can I pansy my way out of this one?
So funny. I was like, I have to leave. I think my mom needs me.
Oh, no.
And so I left. And I remember I came up here. I was just like 2 blocks down. And I came up, and my aunt, who lives next door, asks me like where my cousin, their son, is. And I was like, yeah, he's sitting at blah, blah, his house and watching a horror movie.
No. You snitched?
I totally snitched.
Oh, boy.
Oh, man. Good times. I was such a pansy back then.
Back then. I think we've already established.
More than you are.
You.
God damn it. That was funny. But weirdly, slashers are not that scary. They
It
no.
depends. I think it depends on how old you are, because Saw was fucking terrifying, the first one.
But if you think of Hostel, it's more about the brutality and the grossness of the scene. It's not about horror. Sure, that's
although
a part
I guess
of
Saw
horror.
is a little, you have to kind of take that one out of the slasher equation, because at least in the first couple, there's actually a decent storyline to it. And so they actually tried to make it slasher and story.
Friday the 13th, where he is on the spaceship, has a decent story.
No, but I think Saw did a really good job of keeping
because
a good story along with, only the first one though.
I mean, he produced all of them, I think, but he was highly involved in the second and the third, I think.
But the concept of that movie is horrifying.
Sure.
I was so scared that if I did something wrong,
Really?
some guy was going to come find me and put me in this room. Yeah, totally. After the first one, I was terrified.
It's funny. The thing is, the whole concept was so far off my like real life that it wasn't that scary to me.
Mm-hmm.
It was gross, obviously, and I couldn't look at certain things, but that's it. Hostel, for example, was more scary to me because it was more real, because it's East Europe.
Which one was Hostel?
From Eli Roth.
That doesn't tell me anything.
I mean, it's like those, I think 4 or 5 teenagers ago on this trip through Europe.
Wow, how original.
Yeah. And they basically get slaughtered by those very
I don't think I've seen Hostel.
Yeah, I'm not going to watch it. They basically get slaughtered by very wealthy, rich people who pay to get people killed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But that movie, for example, was more scary to me because it was more real. It was more in my environment.
Okay.
As Saw was, I don't know.
I mean, then there's like movies like The Hills Have Eyes and
Slasher.
House of Wax. Although House of Wax isn't really slasher, is it? I mean, kind of.
It's a slasher. It's a teeny slasher.
It's a teeny slasher with Paris Hilton.
That scene where she dies, so funny. But I think the real, like, if you really talk about horror, you have to talk about like James Van, obviously, and like that
brilliant mind, and Mike Flanagan. That brilliant
nowadays.
Mind. Now, I mean, he always did really cool stuff.
Sure, but he's not like, if you think of 80s and 90s, that's not where he was big.
I'm not sure.
Obviously, he was too young, but like I think Insidious brought back the real good scary horror, where it's not about jump scares only, but it's also about the tenseness and the atmosphere and the whole concept of the story working so well together. Yeah. Where just the simple tune of the soundtrack can, for example, can make your hair stand.
Yeah. That song still scares me because of that movie.
And
also, they did, I mean, he always does a brilliant job in terms of not just the soundtrack, like songs that already exist, but like he uses a lot of string instruments to really intensify a moment, and I think that that's so brilliant. And in Insidious, there was like no CG stuff. It was all makeup. It was all like the characters. Yeah, but I mean, like the demons and stuff. It was just people in costume and makeup, and it was so well done and so scary that I loved that movie.
That's a great movie.
I saw that one in theaters.
It's a great movie. And he also went back to the more simplistic things. And he also turned things around. Like, you know, usually in horror movies, they tend to come in waves where it's like, okay, it's day, nothing's happening. Then at night, something's happening. Then at day, nothing's happening. But with this movie, it's complete and always terror, like all the time. And you can't expect anything because it's fucking daylight. It's middle of the day, but you could still be scared. So that was really cool.
Yeah, I
And then
don't like movies that rely on jump scares. I think they're cheap. I think you can use them
I think they're fun.
occasionally,
Yeah.
but there are some movies, like what was the one movie? The one with Daniel Radcliffe.
Also, the
woman,
woman in the
woman in
dark, woman in the
black
black,
or something.
woman in black, something like that.
The Woman
I
in
liked
Black.
that movie, but it was just
It was
jump
all
scares.
jump scares.
But it was
Every
very
single second
atmospheric,
was jump
and
scares.
I liked it.
I don't
There were
know
some
if I
scenes
liked
that
it.
were very cool, I think.
It was
But-
so much jump scare and so much like this is just loud to make you scared or to like make you jump or startle, but the thing itself was not actually scary. And it felt kind of cheap.
If we talk about early, like our early movies in terms of horror, we should also talk about Paranormal Activity.
Oh yeah.
That was a series that was so fucking great when it came out.
Well,
And
you also have to think about when we were younger when the first one came out.
I mean, the
and
first one,
a lot of people believed
that
it
real,
was
yeah.
real found footage, and they did
mean-
such a good job with it. I mean, it's like the same
Witch.
for Blair Witch. I mean, when I watched Blair Witch the first time, I was like, I don't know if I could. I didn't personally like Blair Witch Project.
2007.
Yeah.
Came the first.
Yeah.
Was the first.
That was one of our high
Paranormal
school
Activity. That
Halloween
was a
party
great movie.
movies.
I remember watching the first time at home.
Oh, so scary.
So simple. That movie costed a few. I don't even know if it costed $1 million. It was so low budget.
It was
but
so
that
scary.
movie made so much money. Budget $28,000. 28,000 million. Sorry.
28,000. Yeah.
28 million. Yeah.
That movie was, and they were so good about like the advertising of the movie. Even the credits, from what I remember in the theater, were like they didn't list anybody. It was just
That's great. Yeah.
You know, they didn't
The whole
list the
concept of
actors of it. They did such a
And
good
it's
job.
just found footage. It's just a webcam basically in the corner of their bedroom.
And they continued to do a good job with them, I felt, with the second one.
And the third one was
and the
decent
third
too.
one.
Yeah.
Was the third one the one where the thing in the kitchen happened with the drawers? Do you remember? Or was that
I
the
think
second
that was
one?
the second one because the third one
That
I
was
think
also
with the
so
kids.
brilliant and creepy. And
Yeah.
that's my favorite type of horror movie is any type, not necessarily found footage, but ghost like paranormal, but it has to be done well.
Yeah.
And that's hard to do.
Even though that's one of the horror things, like that and body morphia.
What do you mean?
Yeah, where bodies morph into something or change into something horrible.
Like what, for example?
Like The Fly,
So
for example, or what is what is the first one? Human Centipede.
I will
first
never
one.
watch that movie.
Movies like that, for weird reasons, I don't know why, freak me out, and I can't watch.
Yeah, but you also can't handle not demonic, but
so exorcism and stuff.
exorcism
I mean,
movies.
I can. It freaks me out, but I can. But in general, paranormal stuff, it freaks me out, but I like to watch it because
That's my favorite.
if it's well done. But yeah, but body morphing shit is
yeah.
something that is I can't handle. Even though I like it, like I love The Fly. The Fly is such a great movie, but that fucking movie is so creepy and so well done.
The thing is, it's so that's the other thing I like about horror is that I find it so interesting that there are some things that make some people completely freaked out, and other people are like, meh. Like for me, the body morphing stuff, like The Fly, I'm like, yeah, okay, it's a cool movie, but it doesn't scare me. Like it's not something that I find terrifying.
I don't know. Maybe it's just the childhood trauma.
I don't think so, because a lot of people have that. A lot of and like a lot of people that I know say that The Fly is one of the scariest movies they've ever seen.
Yeah.
Because of the concept alone.
Yeah. The thing is, I love a good slasher. Even though the concept is always the same and it ends up being the same.
Yeah.
With some exceptions.
But I like that too.
But
I kind of like the thing that even though you know what to expect, it feels kind of nostalgic somehow.
And also sometimes they play with the whole anticipation and concept of the story where
like The
there's
Last
nerd
Girl
or The Last Girl.
That's a great movie.
House what was the one? House in the Woods, Cabin in the Woods.
Cabin in the Woods, yeah.
Cabin in the Woods is a great movie that completely turns that slasher movie concept around. I mean, Evil Dead. Evil Dead is a great movie. It's a great series. All of them, even the remake and the series, all great horror slasher things.
I have a soft spot, and I could watch them forever. I love old horror movies that maybe at the time were really scary, but now they're just like
what?
Like The Reanimator.
So trash horror movies.
1985 or something. No, but the thing is, it's not. It wasn't that then.
What is the one movie called?
Creature of the Black Lagoon?
No, where he falls into the waste toxic Avenger.
Oh, that's a great movie.
Oh man!
But the thing is,
writing alone,
those movies, we see them as like B movies, but they're not.
I mean, Toxic Avenger.
Was, but yeah. Reanimator wasn't. Reanimator was a horror movie. It was a scary movie, and it's so good.
I wouldn't say it's good.
Oh, I thought it was fantastic, but I love movies like that. I love them.
It was well done, but I thought it was poorly written and just not.
Yeah, but it's also 1985 or something.
Lack of budget, and I don't know. Could have been much better, but
I loved that movie.
But let's also talk about zombies, because it's also part of the horror genre. And
it is. Although strangely, I know it's part of that genre, but if I want to watch a horror movie, I'm not going to go to zombies, even though I like zombie movies.
Wreck. Spanish horror movie, Wreck.
I haven't seen it in so long.
Oida.
I don't remember.
That is one of the most terrifying movies in terms of zombies.
There's a movie that I have been
Train to Busan?
No, I have been trying to find, just because you said Wreck, because for some reason in my brain I always thought it was Wreck that I was thinking of, but it's not. And there was some movie that I watched when I was younger that the ending was so brilliant, and it had something to do with a camera, and the only thing I can remember is there is a scene in like some guy's apartment, and there's something about the bookshelf. That's all I can remember, and it's so ridiculous. But it was one of the most brilliant stories I've ever seen in a horror movie, and I cannot figure out what it was. And I've been trying to figure it out for like 10 years.
Yeah.
So if you know what movie I'm talking
But
about.
Let's go back to horrors, to zombies. Train to Busan is, I think, one of the best recent zombie movies. And it's not the slow kind of zombies.
Nope.
It's like the most terrifying, fast turning zombies.
Yep.
And it's just
physically fast, like they run.
That movie is so fucking good.
Yeah.
Like in terms of story, in terms of pacing, the whole concept revolving around just being in the train and traveling from A to B. It's such a great movie. And with that, I think 28 days and weeks later,
I was just about to say that.
Technically it's not zombies, it's infected. But you can still count them to the zombie genre. And again, great story, great actors, great everything. I mean, those are classics. And apparently there's going to be a third one. So let's hope that's true. But I really, really like zombie movies. I always liked them. I remember watching the remake of the Dawn of the Dead from 2004. Zack Snyder directed it and James Gunn wrote it, weirdly.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
And I love that movie so much. I think it's one of the best remakes from a zombie series or movie, and a great thrilling zombie movie. It's so well done. It has everything that a good zombie story should have. And it's a great remake. I mean, if you like the original Dawn of the Dead, which is a really great movie too, and Night of the Living Dead, even though the zombies are just blue painted people, it's a good concept too. And the whole concept of, I mean, nowadays zombies are everywhere. Like Kingdom, the Netflix series was a great series, or is a Korean series, and it's set in like the 1600s or something like that, where with samurai stuff, and it's a really cool concept. And you could argue that zombies are a little too much used in a lot of movies in the last couple of years. I mean, alone Walking Dead, which is now coming to an end.
Thankfully.
But the whole concept of zombies so is interesting because it started as this not political but social statement of people just, you know, are willingless people basically trained by media and running into those malls and just buying shit they don't need and don't even think about, you know, all that stuff, what they consume, what they eat, what they buy. That was the original concept of the whole thing. And I think it still holds up to a certain degree. But then also adds so much to it if you think about the fast zombies, because it's nothing's more terrifying if something really angry or disturbing looking or ant-humified human is charging at you with full speed and with only one emotion, and that is just either anger or hunger. It's just fucking terrifying, and it's so simple. Yeah. There are tons of other horror movies I really like.
But what before you go into that?
Yeah.
Let's just jump back to paranormal movies. What do you think makes a good paranormal movie? Ghost story.
I think tapping into things that people can relate to. Like, I mean, The Sixth Sense, for example, does a good way in that, where they talk about that. For example, when you walk down into a basement and you walk upstairs and you have a feeling that someone is looking at you, or you have this, all of a sudden your body hair stands up.
Yeah.
And things like that, tapping into that. And the thing is, as we already established, horror movies are not universal. So some people are very scared by some things and some people are not. And some people say, oh, I'm not going to watch that because I can't. Or some people say, I'm not going to watch it because it doesn't scare me.
Yeah.
But I think tapping into things that might scare yourself or you can relate to in terms of, oh, I thought about this, or I had a similar experience, or for example, I remember that so vividly. I don't know, I was like 15, no, not 15, 25, 24, something like that. And me and my sister were living alone here in the house. And it was like 6 or 7 in the morning. It was pretty early. It was summer, so it was pretty light out already. And I turned around in my bed and I just squinted a little bit because the light came in through the door, or through the,
the crack under the door.
Right. And there was a face right in front of me of an old woman.
That story, I still think about that since you told me that.
It scared me shitless. I screamed, and my sister came running into my room and asked me what happened. And I told her I just saw a face directly in front of me, right next to my bed. Like it was, I don't know, like a few inches in front of my face.
But did she have like a creepy face, or did she was just an old, like she didn't do something scary?
Just an old woman. I don't remember it was creepy, but it was super, I mean, it was super creepy because it was so close.
You sure?
That, I remember that vividly. Or another thing where when we didn't have like a second bathroom upstairs, we had to walk down to get water. And I was thirsty, and so I walked downstairs, and right at the top of the stairs where I set my first foot down on the first stairs, I heard a voice whisper into my ear my name. Like I heard a voice like, Wolfgang, like that. And I looked.
Wait, why are we building here? Let's move.
And I looked, there was nothing there. And I walked towards my sister's old room, which was our former bedroom. And I was like, hey. And she's like half asleep, like, what? was like, did you say my name? She's like, no, I'm sleeping. And I'm like, I just heard my name. And the weird thing is, I had my earplugs in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, super
See,
creepy.
I've never had anything like that. I have had other experiences. There are two that I can remember vividly. One of them was when I lived in this house with a bunch of people, and we lived on the second floor, and the first floor was more like a community area. So it was during the school year, it was filled with people, and during break, it was completely empty.
Mm-hmm.
And
I know that story.
During Christmas break, I was the only one who didn't like go home for break because my mom lived down the street.
Mm-hmm.
So I stayed at home, but the house was empty.
Mm-hmm.
So I was the only one in the house. And I would consistently hear like footsteps in the house all the time,
Mm-hmm.
like just going up and down the main stairs, which I think a lot of people hear in houses. They hear footsteps, but just consistently, like a couple times a day, you would hear footsteps. Nobody was there. And there was one night, the Christmas tree was downstairs, like our Christmas tree. This one freaks me the fuck out. But so we had like a Christmas tree downstairs, and we had just gotten the tree like a week or two before. So it's not like it was dying. The last time I had seen it was the day before, and it was green, and all of the needles were, everything was on there. It was fine.
Mm-hmm.
And then the one night I heard some stuff downstairs. I was like, okay. And I just ignored it. I made sure all the doors were locked, and I went to sleep. And the next morning I went downstairs, and like all the needles are just off the tree, like just like on the floor, like the tree had died overnight, and like somebody had shaken it. Like,
but even that's not really possible.
They can't just
unless
fall
the tree's
off.
So old,
right,
or dry.
They can't just fall off the tree like that. You have to shake it or like move your finger down each
mm-hmm.
part of the tree to make them fall. It was super creepy. We would constantly see ghosts in that house.
I think that's why a lot of
like shadows and
people respond to that well. I mean, even I tried my fair share with a little horror short. And
you can watch it on YouTube.
Yeah. But
it's starring yours truly.
Right.
The great actress that I am.
But I also like, or I think also like home invasion things.
Ooh, those are scary.
Where things, or I mean, like if you think about ghost stories or possession stories, it's also kind of home invasion because all of a sudden something is in your house.
Yeah.
And that's also super creepy. And I think that is something that a lot of people respond as well, because the thought alone that, you're sitting in your living room and watching something at night, and there's something standing outside your window and watching you.
Yeah.
Super creepy.
I mean, The Strangers.
Right.
I couldn't sleep for weeks after
one
I saw
of
that.
the best home invasion movies because it's so well and simply executed, but scares you shitless.
Today I watched When a Stranger Calls. Do you remember that movie? I don't remember the main actress. She's in high school and she's a babysitter, and she goes to this doctor's house to watch their kids, and there's a murderer, and the call is coming from inside the house. Like that's the big twist at the end. But that was one of the first. I mean, it was fun, but it wasn't really like super scary. Because nothing happened until the very end. Like it wasn't until the end, and also you don't like see anything. Like nothing happens. Like nobody. If one person or two people die, you don't see them die. You just see a dead body at some point on the ground, where it's like, okay, it's not really thrilling.
Nope.
But I do remember as a kid watching that movie, and I babysat a lot, and I was terrified. There were multiple times babysitting where I was like, oh God, I hope the phone doesn't ring.
Another really, really good movie, in my opinion, is Hereditary.
I was about to say that one too. It's on my list.
Which also plays with There's Something in My House, possession, witchcraft,
It's a
and
mix.
also super psycho-thrilling. There are some scenes that are so horrifying.
Yeah.
And unexpected. It plays with the unexpected part as well. And another one that kind of links into that a little bit is It Follows.
Ooh, yeah, that's a good one.
Where, I mean, it's an indie movie and a lot of people really didn't like it, but I think it's a very interesting concept and I think it holds up because it's the concept of something following you all the time.
Yeah.
And you don't know what it looks like, but it can kill you is so cool.
And slowly, like it slowly follows you.
Yeah.
And eventually at some point it's going to get you, but you don't know when.
Yeah.
And it's also kind of like the concept of it's not The Ring. Is it The Ring? The Ring is the 7 days thing.
Yeah.
It's the same concept as that. Like you watch a videotape and you have to pass the videotape to somebody else. Yeah. But I'm not going to spoil the whole thing. But definitely go see It Follows.
Always reminds me of Scary Movie 3, where the guy calls and she's like, 7 days, but there is a holiday. Does that count towards the 7 days, or is it 7 work days? And he's like, what holiday? Oh, it's Martin Luther King Day. No, that doesn't count. What? Why? It's so funny. Listen, bitch, I already gave you 7 days.
We can't watch any movie that is referenced in Scary Movie because as we're watching the movie, he's like, it's Scary Movie. It's so funny when they do this.
It's so funny because they're so fucking well done.
Yeah, it was
the
pretty well
first
done.
3, they're so funny. Like the second one with the exorcism, it's so stupid, but it's so funny.
Another great one of my favorites is Lights Out.
Lights Out is a great one.
2016. It is a fantastic movie.
Great director, and he started with making short movies, and he has a lot of cool short horror movies on his YouTube channel, and one of them is Lights Out, like the original.
But also, like, it's horror. A really cool concept, and it's really believable. And I don't know, it's one of those things that after you watch it, you're gonna think about it for a while every time you turn the lights on and off in your house. It's really well done.
Yeah, especially if you're alone at home, or if you're watching it alone home with the lights out.
Definitely check that out if you like kind of paranormal style movies.
I think we should end it. It's been a long episode. Okay. Is there something else I want to add? I don't know.
I mean, just if you're into horror movies, try to expand a little bit. Maybe try something new. Maybe try a genre you haven't tried. Maybe go back to some of the old classics because there is something to them. They're really good. I mean, The Shining is fantastic.
The Thing,
the original Psycho. I mean, they're brilliant movies. I mean, a lot of them are like Stephen King or Hitchcock. Just go to the old Hitchcock movies. They're fantastic.
Psycho, Vertigo, whatever.
Yeah.
Great movies.
Because they're also, Hitchcock has a way of telling a story that doesn't necessarily seem like it would be so scary, and he makes it so scary.
Yep.
Or go watch what is the show called?
Yeah. Go watch that. Go watch the show that's called
Twilight Zone.
Oh, Twilight Zone.
Go watch Twilight Zone. That's fucking cool.
That's scary too. Can be scary. Or right now we're watching Stranger Things, and that show is pretty scary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Haunting of Hill House. Forever one of my favorite shows, and fucking terrifying.
Great Netflix show.
Yeah.
That's it. Please follow us, subscribe, rate the podcast, and share the podcast, please. That helps us tremendously. And
I always think of Little Britain when you say that. There's like a way that you say it that makes me think of Little Britain.
And we have a Patreon. We link it on our podcast episode, like in the description down. And if you want to support us, you can do that with like either a monthly subscription or just, a one-time payment. That would be really great. It goes directly into the funding of the podcast.
Indeed.
That's it. Bye.
Watch out for deer.
exploring how we can master ourselves by looking at how experts say it is possible with your host, Shashati. Welcome to How to Be with me, Shashati, as your timid presenter, guiding you through life's tricky topics and skills by reading through the best books out there. I've been podcasting for almost 18 months, covering topics ranging from mental health and well-being to understanding the world around us better through interviewing authors on the given subject. I've spoken to at least 40 authors, from award-winning editor of The Good Immigrant, Nikesh Shukla, to The Year of Living Danishly and How to Be Sad author Helen Russell, on what it means to be human, and about the human condition. Each episode is around 30 minutes long, describing the most important information from at least 2 to 3 books, hearing a snippet from the author's point of view, a summary of the advice, as well as the community at large, so we get a great overview of each subject. This season will have 26 episodes, and each will be packed full of really important information and life advice. From intersectionality, resilience, motivation, allyship, grief, as well as much, much more. I look forward to hearing from you, and welcome to this journey of learning.